My name is Jill Sweeney Bosa, and I'm one of the booksellers here at Water Street Bookstore, and I'm really happy to see a turnout like this. It's obvious that lots of us here absolutely love this series, and it's really great to see faces. I've recognized faces from past years too. So thank you so much for coming out. So we know how we feel about the Luck Uglies, but it's really exciting when we see the ripples that it's made elsewhere around the world. It was named an American Library Association Notable Children's Book. New York Public Library named it one of their titles for reading and sharing. We know that it's a Great Stoneface Award nominee, and it won the Sybil Award for middle grade speculative fiction. So lots of people had their hands on this book, and from kids to librarians to book reviewers, it's gotten an awful lot of praise, and it deserves it. So thanks for coming to help us celebrate the rise of the Ragged Clover today. We've become very attached to Rio Chanter and company over the years. We were right beside her as she made her first leap across the rooftops of Village Drowning. And now we're stepping onto its winding, mist-shrouded streets again with her. We know that heroes, villains, monsters, magic, and true friends await us, and we can't wait to find out what happens next. Thank you, Paul Durham, for writing the kind of story that lives on beyond the last page. Please welcome Paul Durham.
Jill always does such a great job at that I wish I could bring her on the road with me everywhere I go. She does such a great introduction. So the Luck Uglies are back at Water Street Bookstore, and it's so great to be here. I see a lot of familiar faces, and I see new faces too. So just like with a show of hands, who's been here? Who has been to Water Street to see me do this before? All right, so a bunch of people have. How about who's seen me at your school? Have I been to your school? Seen me to school? A bunch of the same faces. Okay. Who's here seeing me speak for the very first time? Oh, some people are. Terrific. All right. That's awesome. And who just like accidentally wandered in hoping to browse quietly and got stuck in the middle of this mess? Anybody? No? All right. So everybody knew what someone does back. And so everybody more or less knew what they were getting into. Which great. This is my third time here at Water Street Bookstore, the third book that I've launched here. And I since I was here last, which was actually St. Patrick's Day last year, if you guys were here, you know I don't like to do normal book presentations. I don't like to just kind of stand around and talk about the book and ramble on and on. I like to get everybody involved. There will be no lizards this year, unfortunately. I'm sure Dan is very sad that there are no lizards and snakes coming this year. But the sort of the theme I wanted to stick with this year is Rise of the Ragged Clover, which is the third book in the Luck Uglies. Two of the big themes are coming home, coming back home, and what is home, and what is a sense of community. And the other theme is sort of really following who you are and finding out what your path is and following your path and not what someone else tries to create for you. So I think it's really, since last year, since March 17th, I've had the incredible privilege to talk to students and go to independent bookstores and big bookstores all over the country. And I really mean that. Everywhere from California to Texas to Oregon to Florida. I've been to a ton of places, and it's been a great time. But this really is home for me and for the Luck Uglies. I mean, this is where it sort of has all started. This is every year the crowd here gets a little bit bigger, and every year the community kind of revolves around Luck Uglies and gets stronger behind it. Publishing middle grade books is a grassroots effort. So I thought what I would do. Well, first off, I just want to thank Dan, Jill, Steph, the entire staff here, because they've always been so great to me, and they continue to be. So let's give them a round of applause. Probably not the first one tonight. And I think for the first time in a public setting, I don't think I've ever told in public sort of the story of how the Luck Uglies came to be. And again, keeping the idea of home and community sort of at the forefront. And then we're going to do a whole bunch of fun stuff. So bear with me, you guys, for just a couple minutes as I tell this. So I'm looking around at all these great young faces here. And look, we got probably everything from what, second, third graders up to maybe some sixth, seventh graders, things like that there. Around who? Third graders, fourth graders? Hands? Show me some hands if you're third or fourth grade. No? How about fifth graders? Yeah? Sixth graders? Some of those. Anyone older than sixth grade? Not counting the adult? I see you guys back there. All right. Yeah. And how about kids at heart? We got a bunch of kids at heart, I can tell. Okay. So I was one of those kids, and you guys have plenty of time. Has anyone sort of started to think of what they might want to be when they grow up? Oh, I see a bunch of hands. Okay. I see some grown-up hands, too. All right, some grown-up, yeah. So you guys have sort of started to think about it. You still have plenty of time to figure it out, right? When I was a kid, I always knew what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a writer. I never wanted to be in the World Series, and I never wanted to play professional football, which is really good because I'm a terrible athlete. I can't hit a fastball to save my life. Kind of slow, all right? I never wanted to be an astronaut or a pilot, which is good because I'm afraid of heights, hate to fly. So there you go, that worked out pretty well. And I never wanted to be a doctor or anything like that, which again is good because as my daughter can attest, at the sight of a bloody nose, I'm likely to pass out on the floor. And unfortunately, I'm not exaggerating. So that worked out too. That worked out well for me also. But what I always wanted to do is I always wanted to be a writer. I always wanted to tell stories. And I grew up and did a lot of other things. And I was a lawyer for a while. And when my family and I moved to Exeter back in 2010, and this is why I think community is important, that was actually the start of the Luck Uglies. And what I did, we moved here, and we moved into a new neighborhood, and I watched as sort of my daughter and two of her friends in the neighborhood would play together and sort of get into mischief. Fortunately, no roof jumping, as far as I know, guys, right? No jumping across roofs. Not a whole lot of playing in the cemeteries. But watching them play inspired me to write this book about 3 young children. And I had never written for kids before. And it was only when I got to, it was getting to be the holidays. And I asked my daughter, what would you like for Christmas this year? And what she said to me was, hey, Dad, would you write me a story, one that we could read together? And I said, wow, that would be great. I've never written for kids before, though. But I bet I could figure it out. I can take a step back and figure out how to write for kids. And I did. I started writing what was supposed to be a short story. Just a few chapters that I could sit down in front of the fireplace with my wife and my 2 daughters and read this short story to them. And that's what I did. And as I went through and I finished and it was all done, they looked at me and they said, hey, Dad, that book was really great. Not even that book, the story's really great. We love it. You're a great writer. But, it seems like there's always a but at the end of something like that, right? And I said, uh-oh, what comes next? They said, what happens next, Dad? And I said, scratched my head. Beats me. I don't know. And you know what they said? Figure it out. They said, you can't just start a story like that and leave us hanging. We want to know how it ends. So that's what I did. I went back and I started to, just every week, I wrote another chapter. And I didn't try to make it perfect, and I didn't try to get it published. Now, keep in mind, I've been trying to get a book published for most of my adult life at that point. But I stopped worrying about that. I just wanted to tell a story to entertain my wife and my daughters. And in 3 months, it was the fastest I've ever written a book before, probably the fastest I will ever write a book. But when it was done, I read the whole thing to them, and it became this book called The Luck Uglies. And I was all finished, and they said to me, hey, that's really great. Are you going to try to get it published? And my response was, no way. Are you kidding? Do you remember last time I tried to do that? I got rejected by every major publisher in Manhattan. It made me depressed. I stopped writing altogether. It was awful. I'm not going to go through that again. But fortunately, I listened to them, and I didn't listen to myself. And I won't bore you with what happened for the other year after that. But what happened is that little story, The Luck Uglies, turned into 3 books. It was bought by HarperCollins, and as Jill mentioned, it's all over the world now. You can find it. It's been translated into Turkish. It's been translated into Norwegian. You can find it in your bookstore here. You can find it in libraries. You can find it in Australia. You name it, you can find it there. And the reason why I tell you guys this story is not because I really want you to say, oh, look at Paul, look at what he did. I tell it for all the kids, the little kids here, and the big kids in the back that maybe have a dream or something creative, whatever it may be that they're trying to do. And that is, I hear it all the time, and I tell the story to kids all the time. People to say, hey, you can do whatever you want to do. All you have to do is work hard at it. And that's true, but it's only half the story. And the other half of the story is you have to be afraid, you can't be afraid to fail at it sometimes too. Because you have to fail sometimes once, twice, 5, 10 times, 20 times, fail for 15 years. But the point is, if you do that, then you really can do whatever you want. And that's a story that I hope that you guys will remember, even if you don't remember my name. It's Paul Durham, by the way. Even if you don't remember the name of my books, they're called the Luck Uglies. That's the story that I hope that you remember. And why is it so important? What does it have to do with home and community? Well, for middle grade, for any authors, but especially middle grade authors, kids, authors who write for children like I do, I look around out here and I see librarians, I see media specialists, I see teachers, I see parents, I see a whole bunch of kids, I see a whole bunch of faces I've met over the past 2 years, and people from the community who have supported me. So again, I want to thank you guys. This is really about coming home, being part of doing a launch party at the community that's helping the Luck Uglies get known and grow beyond Exeter and New Hampshire. So another round of applause, not for me, not for Water Street, but for all you guys here. And with that said, as promised, now let's get to the stuff that's a little more fun than all those sort of big words and inspirational words. The Luck Uglies, who has read at least one of the Luck Uglies books before? Wow, pretty good bunch of you. For those who haven't yet, we're not going to spoil anything for you, but the theme that we're going for tonight is imagination, dress up as a Luck Ugly. We are going to have in the back afterwards what we call the Dead Fish Inn photo booth. So what that means is we have all sorts of various characters of the Luck Uglies, different costumes, that we thought it would be fun to bring in, and afterwards people can go in the back, you can dress up as your favorite character, we'll have somebody taking pictures of you, your parents can take pictures of you, grown-ups, if you want to dress up, join in on the fun, all the better. But to start, why don't we find some volunteers who might be willing to come up just so we could possibly show some of the costumes that we've brought along and see if we can identify some of these characters. This is the brains behind the operation and the beauty behind the operation. My lovely wife Wendy here is going to find some volunteers for us and see what we can find. We do have a couple ringers, and I'll explain why.
Charlie, hold on 1 second. There. All right. Let me see how many I got. All right. You have it.
You good?
Yeah.
All right. We got a mix. All right. Good.
You need the questions in there?
No, I'll figure it out.
Okay.
All right. So while they're going to be getting their costumes on, and we're going to see if you guys can help me, because my memory's awful. I'm actually working on another book other than Luck Uglies now, so you guys are going to have to help me out and see if you can help me remember who some of these characters are based on what they are wearing. Who's coming up? Oh, I guess you can't tell me who's coming up. That's part of the guessing game, right? All right. First up, I think we're going to start. We might start with an easy one. All right. So I see a pointy beak-like mask, and I see a dark cloak. Does anyone have an idea of who or what this might be up here? Anyone? How about you? Who is this? That is a Luck Ugly. Am I right? Are you a Luck Ugly? Very good. All right. Round of applause for our Luck Ugly dressed up. Now let's see what we have here. This is an interesting costume. So I see there appears to be a wooden bird cage with some sort of creepy lizard in there. But Dan, as promised, this one is not alive and will not do anything it shouldn't do on the floor of the bookstore. And she's got a little sort of hobgoblin poke. Could you hold up that doll so we can see it? Does that doll have a name?
Yes.
What's the doll's name?
Mona Monster.
The doll's name is Mona Monster. Imagine that. Does anyone know who this character in the Luck Uglies might be? Let's take a look. How about you over there with the hat?
Lottie.
Lottie, very good. All right, this is Lottie O'Shanter. All right. And by the way, Mona Monster is actually a doll in the book The Luck Uglies, and that was inspired based on that Mona Monster right there. So that's the very actual Mona Monster who inspired it. All right, next up, is there somebody else? Oh, and this is, oh, by the way, this is Charlotte, who actually is the pure inspiration for Lottie. In case anyone, this is Charlotte Durham. Thank you, honey. You can go step aside. All right, and now who do we have here? So I see a colorful cloak, and I see a crossbow. Now, I'm trying to think, who in the Luck Uglies has a crossbow? Do we know? How about you? Who has a crossbow? Abby O'Chanter. Wow, you guys really do know your Luck Uglies. Very good. This is Abby O'Chanter. Very nice. Round of applause for our volunteer being Abby O'Chanter. Very good. Now who do we have here? I see potion. Oh, I see potion bottles. Somebody who likes potions, and she has no shoes on. She's in bare feet. And look at that amazing blonde hair and those big blue eyes. I wonder who this could be. Anyone have an idea who this might be? How about you in the green right there? Folly Flood. This would be. Are you Folly Flood? Folly. This would be Folly Flood. Okay, Rye's best friend. And I will say this also happens to be our wonderful neighbor and friend Kate, who, believe it or not, was the inspiration for Folly Flood. There she is. Thank you, Kate. Wow. Now who could this be? Look at this. All right, this one I think is going to get a little trickier for you guys. This one might stump some of you. Okay, I see a rather large reddish color hat. And can I take a look at it? Is that a beard? You can come a little closer. My mic's closer. All right. So, and I see a beard. He looks sort of a little Abraham Lincoln-like. He's making an interesting expression, and his beard is. Look at this. They're all twisted into something. So this is a harder one. Does anybody have any idea which character this might be? How about you all the way? I see you with the armor, right? Yep.
Lynn Varlette.
This would be. Oh, we're not going to give any spoilers in case somebody didn't read the second book. But you are correct. Who is it? What's the alter ego? What is another name that he goes by?
Slenister.
Slenister or Constable, maybe. How about down there? Constable Valant, there he is with his big hat and his pointy beard. I told you that was a tricky one. Very good, excellent job, Constable Valant. Okay, all right, we got one more. Well, we got a couple more. I bet you guys can probably figure this one out. So this is a character who she appears to have a nice blue choker around her neck. She has a cloak. She's got some boots that look a little too big for her, and she also has some sort of club or stick. Who could this possibly be? I wonder. How about you right back there? Yeah, you.
Rye.
That is Rye. This looks like the Rye O'Chanter costume, right? So round of applause for Rye. Don't worry. And I also would be in big trouble if I didn't mention that this little girl right here, not so little anymore, was the original inspiration for Rye O'Chanter. And this is Katerina, my daughter. So, and we have the last one. Now this is truly a trick question because I'm willing to bet that with the exception of maybe one or two of you, nobody has encountered this character before. Oh, I see a hand. I see an eager hand up in the back though. I'm not even sure I can make out what this is. It's some sort of animal-like skull with these branches sticking out of its head. I saw your hand all the way in the very back. Do you have an idea what that is? This isn't very good. This is a Shriek Reaver. A Shriek Reaver. You guys probably don't know what a Shriek Reaver is, but if you read the third book, there's something lurking in that forest known as Beyond the Shale, and this might give you a hint of what it looks like. So give a big round of applause for our Shriek Reaver. Very nice. So watch your eyes when the Shriek Reaver is around, because we don't want anybody to lose an eye. Very nice. All right, so I think that now those probably aren't the only costumes. We have plenty of more costumes. Yeah, we have Shady the cat. I didn't actually bring Shady the cat because we promised to stay away from animals this year. Not that the bookstore made us. I will say one thing about Water Street Bookstore. I don't think there's any other bookstore in the country that would let me do some of the things that I've done here. So again, I get away with a lot. We also have. You guys, anyone who knows me may be wondering where I got all the tattoos from. And much like my mother, who I think I saw these pictures on social media the other day and freaked out, thinking that I suddenly had lost my mind. I did not earn this ink. These are actually literal sleeves. They go like that. So I now have an appreciation of anyone who tries to keep pantyhose up, because these have been falling down my arms and I can't keep them up. But we have a whole bunch in the back, so if anyone wants to be harmless or be a Luck Ugly and put on your tattoo sleeves like mine, we got some of those back there too. So again, after we're done with this, you guys can go back there and help yourselves, and we'll do pictures and great things. My volunteers left without getting their prizes. But so do this for me. Anyone who's a volunteer at the end, make sure you come up, and I'm going to have, if you haven't received the Black Ragged Clover backpack patch before, I got one for you, and we'll give you one of those and send you on your way. Okay. So next up, I think before we get into some more interactive stuff, would anybody like to hear a little bit of Rise of the Ragged Clover? Some people have. All right. Some people would. All right. Terrific. So here's the thing about Rise of the Ragged Clover. I was working very hard. Normally what I do is I read the first chapter of every book when I do one of these. But I don't. There's so much was left hanging at the end of Fork-Tongued Charmers that even just to read the first chapter out loud, I'm afraid would spoil some stuff for people. So what I have done instead is I've picked some an interesting section that's going to tie into a game I hope that we can play. Okay. So let me set it up for you. This scene in Rise of the Ragged Clover is set in Longchamps Keep. Okay, so you guys remember Longchamps Keep? Longchamps Keep, if you haven't read the Luck Uglies, is sort of like the castle where the terrible earl who's in charge of this place lives. Now Rye has found her way into Longchamps Keep, and Longchamps Keep is now overrun by Fork-Tongued Charmers. Okay, so this first little passage is what Rye finds there when she ends up in Longchamps Keep. And by the way, she has disguised herself as a servant, so people will know. People won't know. None of the Fork-Tongued Charmers will recognize her. Still haven't figured out how to work the microphones, but you guys can hear me okay in the back, right? Yeah. Okay. A towering blaze raged in the great hall, but not from the fireplace. Instead, a massive pile of furniture burned in the center of the chamber like an enormous campfire. The largest table Rye had ever seen, the one where she had once dined with Melidia, had been reduced to embers. Rye saw the glowing metal of Longchamp's gilded chair among the burning wreckage. Black plumes billowing up toward the cathedral ceiling and disappearing into the night sky. Rye blinked to clear the smoke from her eyes, but the flames weren't playing tricks on her. Stars twinkled high overhead through a gaping hole that had been punched in the great hall's roof. Over the fire, the ornate chandelier had been bent and twisted into a makeshift spit, and the well-charred carcass of an enormous boar skewered garishly from mouth to tail. A Fork-Tongued Charmer stepped forward with a plush footstool and pitched it atop the kindling, kicking up a rain of embers that sent a comrade cursing as he brushed sparks from his beard. Everywhere she looked, men with shifting eyes and hard faces lounged on the floor or in broken chairs. Some fixated on their dice games, others on the playing cards and gambling chips. But most seemed perfectly enamored with the enormous goblets in their fists. The hall buzzed with the crackle of fire and the music of edgy conversations. So, now Rye's point in all this, again, she's disguised as a servant. She's supposed to get in and get out, collect whatever plates and dishes that she needs to, just to get out of there before anybody recognizes her. But as you know, Rye sometimes has a tendency to not use the best judgment and maybe lingers a bit longer than she should. So this is what else she sees in the Great Hall. Slinister sat atop an overturned cupboard, a hand on his knee, boots flat on the floor. He was shirtless, and Rye recognized the stringy gray hair and spidery ink-blackened arms of Thornquill as he tapped his sharp metal tools into the flesh of Slinister's broad chest. It must have been extraordinarily painful, but Slinister didn't flinch. He no longer wore a mask or garish hat atop his head, but he stroked the long and elaborate braid that fell from the crown of his scalp like a cat's tail. The rest of his head was shaved smooth, covered only by tattoos and an enormous crescent scar over his ear, one rendered courtesy of Harmless himself. From his perch, Slinister looked like the perfect Lord of Chaos to oversee this motley band of outlaws. So, once again, I don't know about you, but if I was in that situation, I would probably get out of the Great Hall before Slinister recognized me as Rye O'Shanter, and something bad might happen. But Rye sometimes, again, thinks in her own way, and this is how the story sort of continues on. Another fork-tongued charmer comes in with a packet of medicine called, you'll hear me say the term yellow flower, which is actually medicine. And the fork-tongued charmers had been hoarding and stealing all the medicine from the village, keeping it for themselves, and they're throwing it in a big pile in the Great Hall. And Rye sees this, and she realizes that there are some people in her neighborhood who need this medicine, and she can't help but resist the urge to go and try to get some and bring it back. Rye stacked the plates as high as she could in her arms, the pile so high now that it covered her face. She hoped it would be an effective disguise. She wiped the perspiration from her brow with her upper arm and took a careful step toward the medicine. Lassiter, what do the scouts have to say about the Dreadwater? Slinister asked. Lassiter took a goblet off the floor and filled it from a heavy porcelain decanter. They've counted another half-dozen at the edge of the forest since last week. 3 came into the village tonight, even before nightfall. It's the earliest we've seen them yet. Slinister tugged at the knot in his beard. They're all coming, he grunted. It's just a question of when. Rye made it to the medicine supply. Slinister, Lassiter, and the rest were only a few strides from her, but the pile was even closer, right at her feet. Sweat trickled down her forehead and stung her eyes. How could they stand the heat from the fire? Her hands were damp. With one arm, she pressed the stack of plates against her body and bent her knees so she might reach the pouch of yarrow flour. Should we take the fight to the forest edge? Lassiter was asking. Slinister's reply came slowly. No, not yet. Let us... Rye didn't hear the rest of Slinister's words. They were drowned out by a booming clatter. The great hall fell silent. Rye looked at her hands. They were empty. No pouch, no plates. She'd lost her grip on the stack, and now they lay cracked and broken in jagged pieces all around her. Rye's pulse pounded in her ears. She could feel the eyes of the fork-tongued charmers bearing down on her. She turned quickly so her back was to Slinister and ducked her head. Should she run? How quickly would Slinister be upon her? She listened for his inevitable footsteps. Okay, so that is just a little sample of what you might find in Rise of the Ragged Clover. And of course, with that, it inspired me to come up with a game that we could play, which of course involves breaking dishes.
Oh, yes! I can break everything.
Dan, is your liability insurance all paid up? All right. So is there anybody who, I need some volunteers. Would you help me pick volunteers just because you know who you've already picked? All right. So let's pick, I need 3 volunteers to come up here. All right. Yep, we got our 3 volunteers. Okay, so here I'm going to have to put the mic down momentarily. So you guys just heard the passage I read, right? Involves break. Have you guys ever, any of you guys ever been waiters or waitresses before? No, not yet. Okay. Have you guys ever had to put dishes away or stack dishes at home? Nah, maybe not really. All right. Well, cool. No one has an unfair advantage then. All right. So what we are going to do is
I have.
All right, so we're going to see. We'll see if that experience pays off for you. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to balance some dishes and see how high we can stack them. All right. Now the good news is these are not. This is not fine china. These will be plastic chinette. So I don't think anyone's actually can be injured by the dishes when they inevitably will fall. All right. Oh, will you actually load them up? All right. All right, here we go. So we're going to start. All right, so far so good. Here we go. We're starting with our dinner-sized plates. All right, anyone dropped one yet? Nope. All right, so far so good. You guys are doing terrific. All right, here we go. All right, there we go. Yep. All right. Now do me a favor. Wait, before we put any more on, everybody take one step forward and one step back. All right, not bad. All right, well, keep loading them up. Okay, here we go. Wait, no, don't go anywhere. I think let's add something else. That step forward was a little bit too easy. All right. Should we do one more plate on top of that? What do you think? Should we put one more plate on top of those? All right, let's do one more plate. Starting to wobble a bit. All right. All right, let's see who's brave enough to take the first stroll down the runway here with that. You're gonna go? All right. Oh, there they go. All right, wait a minute. Let's see. They're not in for yet. And there's the first dish. There they go. All right, step back. There you go. Okay. All right. And they're down. Here we go. Give them a hand. All right. Oh. And they broke. That's why we didn't actually use the wedding china. All right, who's next? Those might be a little bit sharp if you crush them, so let's not step and crush them. All right, your turn. Let's walk up to, there we go. Oh, all right, keep going, they're not down yet. How about you walk up, turn around, and then walk back, see what you can do. You wouldn't think this would be that hard, right? And back she goes, nice job, all right. All right, it's your turn, Miss Dee Dee. Please walk forward and back. Oh, nice job. All right, turn around. Excellent. All right, excellent job. I think it is time for another layer. All right. I don't know if that's quite enough. Maybe a little higher than that. Here we go. Oh, all right. All right. All right. Tell you what. Since you haven't dropped it yet, could you see if you can make it up and back with that? Here she goes. Keep going. Go see if you can make it up and back. And back she goes. That was very impressive. I think all three of you guys did a very impressive job with the glass balancing. So here's the thing. For being good sports. There are never any winners or losers, but I do have different prizes for everybody. So for our second and third place folks, I do have something special for you guys that I didn't even know existed until about 2 days ago. So. All right. We have for you. We have Quinn Quartermast's green licorice. Who knew that there was such a thing as green licorice anywhere other than in my disgusting imagination? So we actually found green licorice, and so congratulations for coming in second place. I wouldn't necessarily recommend you eat it because it's probably gross, but I think it's entirely edible. So thank you guys. Go back, have a seat. Our green licorice winners. Go ahead, give them a round of applause as they don't sit back down. And for our winner, we have some of the Luck Uglies tattoo sleeves that you can wear on your arms. So there we go for our winner. Thank you. What's your name, by the way? Tara. Good job. You guys are ready for summer jobs, waiters and waitresses, I think. So round of applause for them. Thank you guys for being good sports there. So those are the game portions of the evening. Like I said, we have lots of dress-up stuff in the back, and we'll get to that in a second. I did at the beginning. If anyone has particular questions, I wanted to grab a few questions because I never give everyone a chance to actually answer questions for them. Is this the stack of questions? All right. We'll see how we go here. Okay. That's a good one. How many books will be in the Luck Uglies series? I was afraid what I was going to get for the questions without screening them in advance. How many books? There will be 3 books, and there are 3 books now published in the Luck Uglies series. It's a trilogy. They're all out now. The first 2 are in paperback, and the third one is out in hardcover. So yeah, 3 books, and so you can now, if you've been waiting, you don't have to wait anymore. You could actually pick up all 3 and get Rye's full journey without having to wait a full year for the next one to come out. Have you written any other books? The answer is yes, I have. I wrote a book for adults about 10 or 12 years ago that never got published. So I've written a full book for adults. And I'm actually in the process of writing 2 more kids' books now. So even though Luck Uglies is done, I am not. And I have 2 more books. They are called Goyle. And Goyle is actually not a gargoyle, he's a grotesque. He's the last grotesque who lives on a building in Boston. And his job is to protect the residents of his building from all sorts of awful things that may go on. And sometimes he does a better job than others. So Goyle will be coming out, and I very much hope in maybe a year or 2 from now that we'll do another party for Goyle here at Water Street Bookstore. So that will be, I'm looking forward to that. Who is your favorite neighbor, honestly? Who asked that question? The one who lives next door or nearby. The one who lives. I have a whole bunch of favorite neighbors. I'm not going to single them out. They are. I have a whole bunch of terrific neighbors, all congregated together there in the back, and they are all. I can see at least 3 of my favorite neighbors right back there. Put me on the spot. I know who asked that question. Do you know the end before you start writing? That's actually a terrific question, and my process is I do know the end. A lot of times I know the beginning and I know the end, and then I figure out how to get there as I'm doing it. I wouldn't recommend that to you if you're ever trying to write anything creatively. That is not necessarily the easiest way to do it, but it does work for me. So I sort of start, and then I know where to start, and I know where to end. Who's your favorite character in this new book? All right, so writers always cop out when they get this question. They always say, I love all my characters because, they're like my kids, and they go on and on. And I could do that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to cop out. But the microphone might. In which case I can talk loud. I have a couple favorite characters. Of course, I love Rye. The whole book doesn't happen. The book doesn't work without Rye. I told you the inspiration behind the book. So for a lot of good reasons, I like Rye. I must confess, I am also a big fan. I think if I had a favorite character, if I was pushed, it would be Harmless. Not because I am anything like Harmless, but I think because as a 43-year-old man, I probably relate to Harmless more than some of the other characters. I'm not nearly as interesting or exciting as Harmless, but I do screw things up all the time. I do earn the wrath of my family when I have, despite my best intentions, I do have a tendency to get in trouble. So I can relate to Harmless. I think he tries to do the right thing, but at times he fails. Not necessarily miserably, but I think he's a good guy at heart. Is there a cord being pushed around? No? Okay. All right, I'm going to do one more question, and then I know you guys want to get into some...
There's 2 more questions.
Oh, okay, we can get them. All right, we want to leave anyone out. One more question, or 2 more questions. Are the Bognoblins in this book? So this book, I assume we're talking about Rise of the Ragged Clover, and I can assure you, yes, there will be at least 1 or more Bognoblins in this 3rd book. How did Nudie grow to that size? Nudie, if you don't know, is Lottie's pet lizard or pet baby blue dragon, I should say, in the 2nd book. And I guess he just, he ate his vegetables and got a good night's rest and did all the things that you guys should do to grow to a big size. I guess it's time to wrap it up. The microphone says that we are done for the evening. But so if there may or may not be any snacks left in the back. If there are, I hope you guys help yourselves. I want to thank you guys for coming out. I will be here to sign some books, but also do not forget the most important part, which is if you want your picture taken, if you'd like to dress up as one of your characters, we are going to have the Dead Fish Inn photo booth all the way in the back. Just head on back there if you have to wait for a while you get books. They are on their way back, so you can give them a minute. Thank you guys for coming, and I really appreciate it.